Welcome to this next conversation with the Morning Tea Marketing Missus, where we offer valuable tips to business owners and sole traders, help improve online presence, business, acronym, anything to do with business. And this month we're talking meetings, which, as I said, last conversation, meetings might not sound that interesting, but go back and listen to it if you didn't, because it certainly was an extremely interesting topic with Jan. Your hosts are Narelle Gaddy. Narelle is an accessibility auditor. I'm Janeen Vosper. I help people stand out in their own personal brand authority. We have Jan Roach, who is Biz Connect Web Design and Over 50s Help. And it's Lara Arden, our business awards coach, that's going to be talking about ideas from meetings. And for those people that have listened to the previous one and you're wondering what Lara was going to say in that conversation when we ran out of time, it's here now.
Thanks, Janeen. Okay, so we were talking about team meetings last time, and I think that, there were some great questions that Narelle had there about, oh, I've never even heard of a whiffle. What's a whiffle before? And that's where we start with what I feel like I want to express. And the next, Jan talked about the burning, and the burning could be something where you've had an experience during the week where something didn't go to plan, or perhaps you had not a very nice experience with someone, or maybe it's something that it's just some beef you've got to get off your chest about something. Yep. And then also Jan talked about how it's important to use that time in a team meeting to recognize the things that you've had during the week as an achievement, or things that you've learned, or probably things that you want to suggest as an improvement as well. So on that note of looking at things that you've learned, that you've achieved, or maybe areas of improvement, this actually dovetails nicely into the meetings I'd like to talk about this week, which is that of business awards, gala awards ceremonies, because they are a very formal meeting, and they're a meeting of probably really great minds, okay, because you've got coming together people who have been nominated and selected as finalists, as well as their guests, who are all going to be, in this one room at the time. Typically it's a dinner event as well, so people are dressed to the nines, and they're feeling their best. And so everybody's literally on show with one another. And then you've got, your awards contestants, and you've got the MC there, and it's a lovely presentation as well on stage. There could be some entertainers, and, you're going to have your finalists and your winners addressed and invited to come to the stage and collect their trophies and certificates and all sorts of presentations and rewards. So amongst those celebrations, typically there's a lot of alcohol. It's free flowing to go with the food, and that can bring up some interesting experiences or conversations as well. So what I wanted to talk about this week was the importance of etiquette. And what does that look like, sound like, and feel like when we're in a formal situation, where we're in a meeting, we're dressed to impress. We want to make sure that the opportunity that we have to connect with people that are going to be impressed by us is going to be really something meaningful and valuable. So I'm actually going to put it out here to the group today and ask you if you can help our listeners to think about and consider some things that would be really useful to talk about when you're doing a little bit of small talk, perhaps with somebody new, or even if it's a situation where you're with a colleague, or somebody that you do know. It might even be a competitor, someone in the same room as you, where there might be mixed feelings. Maybe you won, and the category for the award, and maybe they didn't, or it could be vice versa. They did and you didn't, and you get the opportunity to talk to each other. What can that look like, sound like, and feel like, whether it's a competitor, somebody new, or perhaps even a colleague as well. And what are some really lovely ways that we could handle those situations? I'd like to put it out to you. Thank you, my dear ladies.
Yeah, I actually find it interesting, because my thoughts immediately went to the one situation you mentioned there, where you've got, say, the winner of the competition plus their competitors side by side. And that's an awkward one, isn't it? Because, you want to commiserate and say, look, I know you did great work. but hey, I won it, but I won it because I did great work as well. Maybe it's acknowledging, in those situations that everyone does great work, but there might have been just one minor thing that put you in front, but you don't want to say that. It is, you do great work. Yeah, I won this time, but that doesn't take away from what they do.
Exactly, lovely. Can I suggest, Narelle, that's probably a really lovely place to start when you think of an awards acceptance speech, is to acknowledge everyone in the room and the great work that everybody has done to contribute to being there tonight or that day, and to just really thank everybody who's participated in the awards and the event and what it takes to actually be in the room. So that's a great way to start an awards acceptance speech. And even if it's not an acceptance speech, if you're just in conversation, to acknowledge everyone there. So that's great. Anything else?
One of the things in 2023, that's only just last year, I won the Logan Chamber of Commerce Business to Business for a Small Business Award. And that you didn't have opportunity for speeches. There were so many different categories and different awards given out. So it was all very, very, very quickly done through the evening. But one of the things that I have to, say is when you are surprised that you are the winner, you don't say, "Oh shoot," at the table. It's not quite what I said. But it's it's always an amazing feeling being a finalist, and then that's a lovely surprise when you are the winner. And I think part of that was not expecting things. I know, Jan, with your powerlifting, as you said, it was a few weeks training, you were lifting really well. You can expect you to do well, but not necessarily expect to win, which is a very different space. And I know we're watching the Olympics at the moment. It's the same for all the Olympians. Everyone just wants to do the best that they can do. And then, if you are rewarded by it, then that's an extra bonus, but to do your best you can. And yes, watch the shoots at the table.
Yeah, wonderful. I like that one. Yeah, brilliant. Nice. It is important for us to remember that, everyone has done the best that they can to be in the room. And whilst we're acknowledging that and their efforts and ourselves as well, what it's taken for us to be there in the room, that it is really a significant achievement and definitely worth celebrating. For sure.
One of the award winners a couple of years ago, it was a company, it was a larger business, and one of their people turned up in a polo shirt and jeans. It was a female, and everyone else is dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
And it really, I don't know whether she didn't get the memo that it was a formal event, but I think that's really important to recognize, because all the photos with them as the overall winners was her in this photo as well. And it's something that I imagine, whether she might not have felt comfortable looking at later on, is really making sure that you dress appropriately for, whether it's an event or a meeting or whatever it is, that you dress appropriately for it. One of the things I do when I talk about, if you are the presenter, if you're the person in the front of the room or you're running something, you should be the best dressed person or the most formally dressed person in the room, because that's what people have an expectation.
Yeah, definitely. So checking out if there's a dress code when you're going to a formal event, it can be certainly helpful. And that's for any sort of networking meeting, because sometimes it's casual. It could be, sunset drinks on a Friday afternoon. Maybe that's casual. But then if it is something that you're going to after 5, maybe it's on the edge of formal and it could be after 5 wear. And so, having a little bit of time to give ourselves that opportunity to do a bit of research ahead and to just understand, is there a dress code? Okay, what can I do to better prepare for that? It's important as well. Anything else?
Other thing, I've got one, because it got me thinking, and the jokes that people use, when they're an MC or they're presenting an award, and sometimes they will use jokes that really are not appropriate for the occasion, or when they're accepting an award. And I just think people need to be aware of that perception, other people's perceptions. And either, if you're not very good at that, don't make jokes.
Yeah.
Or, you just see so many times, don't you, just jokes that are just not quite right.
Yeah.
Maybe leave them at home. Leave them for another occasion.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice. It's tempting,
Mm.
especially if you've had a few to
Yeah.
let your guard down. Oh, shoot.
Yep.
And that's the thing, like with events where there is alcohol, and if there's an open bar or whatever. I'm a non-drinker, so none of that is ever going to bother me. I know I'm never going to offend anybody because I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I'm just normally this silly. Anyway,
but you're a world
Don't need
champion. It's
alcohol.
okay.
I'm silly sober.
That's it. But the thing is, you don't know what behavior that is fueled by alcohol, what trigger that might set off, what might cause in somebody who is in the room, who may have been a victim of some kind of abuse because of alcoholism. And you've really got to think about your people around you, plus how crazy you look, and then moving forward, people knowing really what's that saying that the real you comes out, or the truth comes out when you've been drinking. Well, I don't agree with all of that. I don't think it's right. And so it's not that the truth comes out, it's just that you lose your head and you speak rubbish. So you've got to be very mindful of those around you, especially if it is an event like that, and a formal event.
Agreed. I think even a casual one, like sunset drinks on a Friday, you want to make sure that you're always leaving a good impression in whatever it is, with our behavior. So something that I remember, because I did my studies in psychology and counseling a couple of years ago, and I remembered that often alcohol is associated with social events as a way of helping people to relax. Yes, so it can it can unleash some inhibitions for people to be a little bit loose with their tongue, whatever they're saying, or poor humor or whatever. But I think what's important is to remember that, okay, if it's a social occasion and there's alcohol going to be there, that there's strategies, okay, for anyone who knows themselves well, if they have those sorts of tendencies, is to recognize, okay, well, it's going to be alcohol there. What can I do to still be inclusive, so I look like I'm being social and participating? This is the beauty of having something like a soda and lime. It looks bubbly, and if you get it poured into the same glass, people are none the wiser. You look like you're still joining in and participating, and it's just all about perception at the end of the day. But as long as
and I think too that it's far too expected that people are going to drink a lot at these kinds of venues or meetings, whatever. Years ago, I used to live on Bribie Island, and I worked at the Blue Pacific Hotel. And me, even way back then, being a non-drinker, people would say to me, "Why aren't you drinking? Why don't you drink?" And I'd just say, "Because I'm not thirsty." Yes. That it was mind-boggling to them that someone was a non-drinker that didn't need to drink alcohol. So it's just I guess it's just too accepted that you have to drink. Well, you don't have to drink.
That's right.
And I think one of the things to remember in everything we've been talking about is, what's the message, like you said, Lara, that you want to leave people with? If you use that joke that's inappropriate, or dress inappropriate, or drink too much, or whatever you do, what's the message you want people to remember you by? And that's one of the things. These are marketing as well. They're not just a meeting, they are a marketing place. There are like Angela De Palma did a thing on personal branding, a couple of weeks ago, last week, 2 weeks ago. And it was really interesting because she made the point that no matter where you are, you're in a meeting, it is also a personal branding exercise.
It is, yeah. And on that note of poor humor, just going back to the words that people might say or let slip, what's important as well is, rather than get hung up on the words, is to remember that people will forgive you, and they'll forget the words that you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel or how those words made them feel. And that's the thing to remember when it comes to the impression that we're leaving, is how do we leave them feeling, in their experience of meeting us or being with us.
Absolutely. And that's a very good point to wrap up on. I've got some amazing stories of MCs that have said inappropriate things, but we probably don't need to go down. I think we've covered enough of that. Any last comments or questions for Lara on that? So it's all about behaving, really, dressing appropriately, looking that you are your personal brand. And that's something I talk about all the time. You are your personal brand.
Yeah.
And how you want to stand out. So
being our best.
Being our best. That's all we can do, is absolutely. And thank you again. Always great conversation with all of you. And remember, if you're listening to this and watching it, then leave a message for us on YouTube, wherever you might find us. If you aren't subscribed yet, please do. That way you won't miss a single conversation. We look forward to you joining us next time with the Morning Tea Marketing Missus. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye for now.